The Vethali have no mouths, which means they cannot laugh out loud. What they do instead is release a short burst of pressurized vapor from the gill slits along their upper mass. A soft hiss, rhythmic and controlled, like something deflating. I learned to recognize it in my first week at Oreth Null Relay Station. It took me another 3 days to figure out they were doing it at me. My name is Sable Oren. I was, at the time, the only human communications officer assigned to Oreth Null, which was a joint Vethali human relay post, responsible for coordinating fleet approach vectors across the outer Keth corridor. The Vethali ran the station. They ran the digital array, the quantum sync uplink, the automated routing table that handled approximately 94% of corridor traffic without anyone touching it. They had been running relay operations in this sector for 160 years before humanity reached it. They were, by any reasonable measure, extremely good at what they did. I was there because the Joint Species Compact required a human presence in every Category 2 relay post. The Vethali had categorized my position as supplementary liaison function, ceremonial diplomatic status, no operational portfolio. The posting document used the phrase cultural continuity role, which, in practice, meant I sat at the secondary console and logged manual signal contacts that came in through the old analog relay band, the one the Vethali quantum array didn't bother monitoring because nobody had used it for operational traffic in 40 years. I kept using it because that was my job. I ran the protocols every shift, mark the band, log the contacts, transmit the acknowledgement tones, keep the handshake procedures current. It took about 20 minutes per shift. The rest of the time, I read, drank the terrible coffee the replicator produced, and listened to the Vethali hiss, quietly, whenever one of them drifted past my console. Senior Communications Coordinator Veth Orak was the one who finally said something. He was the ranking Vethali comms officer, a large, slow-moving column of amber-tinged vapor, contained within a pressure suit designed for station environments. His communication nodes pulsed when he spoke, and his translator rendered everything in a flat, considered tone that had the effect of making even casual observations sound like verdicts. He floated to my console one afternoon and examined my equipment for a long moment. "You are operating the analog contact band," he said. "Yes," I said. "The analog contact band carries no current operational traffic. Fleet coordination is managed entirely through the quantum sync uplink. No vessel in this corridor uses analog signal protocols for approach or routing contact." "That's correct," I said. He pulsed slowly. "Then the operational value of maintaining this procedure is approximately 0. I thought about that for a moment. "It's in my posting brief," I said. Another pulse. The soft hiss from his gill slits was very brief that time, more like a sigh than a laugh, though the effect was the same. He drifted back to his station without another word, and I logged the contact sweep and drank my coffee. The quantum sync array failed 4 months later. It was not a dramatic failure. It rarely is with precision systems. They don't collapse, they degrade. The primary uplink node dropped to 60% efficiency over the course of a week, which the automated monitoring table flagged as within acceptable variance. Then a second node followed, and the routing table's error correction algorithms started compensating, quietly redistributing load in ways that the system had not been designed to sustain. By the time the cascade began, the correction layer had been masking a structural fault for 11 days. The array went dark on a Thursday, at 0347 station time, during a multi-fleet coordination window that had 42 vessels waiting on approach vectors. I was on shift. The backup digital systems came up in sequence, as designed, and failed in sequence, because they shared the same error correction architecture as the primary array, and the fault had already propagated into the baseline. Veth Orak's team moved quickly and correctly. They ran every restoration protocol available to them. It was the right response. It simply had no effect, because the thing that was broken was the thing you would normally use to fix it. I watched all of this for about 4 minutes. Then I turned to my console and patched the analog relay board into the station's outbound antenna array. The board was warm. I'd run the handshake protocols every shift for 4 months. Every tone sequence was current. Every contact in the corridor that had bothered to maintain an analog receiver, and some of them had, because the old vessels always did, and the joint compact required it for any ship more than 30 years in service, would hear me the moment I transmitted. I keyed the primary contact tone and started working the cue. 42 vessels. The analog band is slower than the quantum uplink by a factor of roughly 8. A vector confirmation that takes the array 4 seconds takes the analog board 32. I was not going to move 42 ships in the time the array would have managed it. I was going to move as many as I could in the time available, and I was going to move them correctly, because the one thing the analog band has over the quantum uplink is that there is no error correction layer between me and the signal. What I send is what arrives. If it's wrong, it's visibly wrong, and someone will ask me to repeat it. I sent 27 sets of approach vectors in the next 90 minutes. The remaining 15 vessels held at distance, which is the correct response when your assigned corridor slot goes quiet and nobody's told you why. None of them came close to each other. Nobody missed an approach window they couldn't recover from. Vethali drifted to my console at some point during the second hour. I don't know exactly when. I was busy. He didn't say anything. He watched the board for a while, and his pressure suit pulsed a color I hadn't seen before, which his translator later rendered, when I asked, as recalibrating. Then he went back to his team and kept working the restoration. The array came back up at 0611. The automated routing table resumed handling the remaining corridor traffic. I logged the shift, filed the contact record, and went to get coffee. The formal incident review took 6 weeks. The Vethali filed the outcome as atypical event, analog band supplementary contact, non-repeatable under standard operational conditions. No modification to current array protocols recommended. The Human Joint Compact Office added a note flagging the analog contact band as active operational infrastructure, Category 1, essential maintenance required. There was some back and forth about that. It went on for a while. Vethali came to my console again, about a week after the review was filed. He examined the board for a moment, the same way he had the first time. "You maintained the protocol," he said. "Yes," I said. His suit pulsed slowly, no hiss this time, just the long, amber-tinged pause of a system running a calculation it hadn't expected to run. "The operational value was not 0, he said at last. "No," I said. He considered that. "We will need to review the secondary console classification." I nodded and drank my coffee. The replicator had not improved. I had learned not to expect it to. The posting document, when it was updated, no longer used the phrase cultural continuity role. I didn't ask what it said. Instead, I had a shift to run, and the analog band doesn't log itself.